This is the Football Podcast with your hosts, Tyler, Andy, and Boyer.
Welcome back to Fantasy Football Podcast, presented by, once again, two of your performance-enhancing dad. Boyer is sick. His immune system's awful. It's never been good. So I guess
I'm not sure that he has one.
Right. That too. He moved into a new house.
New house, new germs. Couldn't do it.
Couldn't join us last week. New germs this week. Couldn't handle it. Man, I hope you can get back here one of these next couple weeks. So let's jump in without him. Luckily, we're going to start with trades, go through buyers and sellers, kind of where we think people are, how we see things fit at this point. And then we'll hit matchups. So with the trades, luckily it was pretty much all me and Andy this last week anyway.
We got you covered.
If you need more, we're both selling still.
Truth.
So to start, we'll cover the quick trade that was live podcasted last week. I gave Andy CeeDee Lamb for $14 draft dollars in Bateman. Andy was not very happy about that this week with how Lamb played out.
I mean, he sprained his ankle within 12 hours of you trading him to me. So I wasn't super jazzed about that.
Well, and you wouldn't have expected that because he's now off of my team.
Right? Maybe we didn't get the paperwork submitted fast enough. So he was still on your team when he did it.
Right. We were waiting to tell everybody, and that's the problem.
That's what it was.
Sorry, CD. Next time we'll let everybody know. But with that trade, it's kind of that trade and this next trade has kind of messed me up with trying to trade the rest of my team. So the next trade that happened was
Do you want to break down the trade at all? Talk about how much I overpaid by?
How much you overpaid for CeeDee Lamb?
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you, I expected CeeDee Lamb to go at that $10 to $12 mark. So getting 14 plus Bateman was easy accept for me at that point. And you were really looking to win last week, and CeeDee didn't help you. So granted, if you would have kept Bateman would have gotten you 2 extra points. You still would have lost. It wouldn't have mattered.
Right. And like, if CeeDee doesn't tweak his ankle, maybe it matters. But right. I mean, I know that I overpaid for him. I'm bummed to lose Bateman. I was excited to have him, and that Paul threw in on one of our earlier deals. I think when I sent him Chuba, I was excited to hold on to him and see what happened. But you wanted him, and you said 14. I knew Charlie was talking to you about Lamb at the time, and I didn't want to lose out or have you keep, waiting to see and have to sweat this matchup with Colin last week. So I wanted to make a splash and go all in because last week felt like it was the determining matchup of how my season was going to go, and put up second most points in the league, but Colin had more. So
yeah, had I held CD, it wouldn't have made a difference anyway. I would have lost. So I still would have been selling this week.
Right. So I overpaid. I don't regret it. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. So this next trade also helped screw me over a little bit. I love the trade, but it's hurting me at this point. I trade Dak to Chris for $6 draft dollars in 22 and 4 in 23. Boston Scott was the throw in with it. I've already dropped him, so it doesn't matter. But getting that $6 draft dollars and 4 and 23 was way more than I expected. But that Josh Allen trade really set a market. I think Chris came in knowing that, like, hey, Josh Allen just went for 9 and 4 or 9 and whatever, 9 and 3. So I think he wanted to come in high and aggressive and grab Dak. So I didn't even negotiate. I said, yeah, done, take him. Maybe I could have gotten another $1 or $2, but that wasn't a thing I was going to fight. It was a fair market value, I guess, based on what Josh Allen went for, but I still think Chris overpaid. I got a good price and I took it. So what do you think on that one?
So my opinion is that Chris definitely overpaid in terms of the value of Dak. I mean, Dak's per game fantasy points is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, is 8th in the league right now, behind Brady, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, Matthew Stafford, just ahead of Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson on a per game average. So the Josh Allen deal, I thought was ridiculously overpriced. We talked about it last week, but at least that was Paul going out and getting the top quarterback. I talked to Chris about the Dak deal a little bit, and he's got concerns with Hurts in real life. Obviously, he's incredibly productive for fantasy, but when you're garbage in real life, that's an issue because you get benched. So Chris wanted to make sure he had somebody for down the stretch. And looking at the rest of the names on this list, they're all on playoff teams. So I get it. Like, there's nobody else that Chris could have gone to get except for Herbert for me if he wanted to go that route. It's a lot of money to give up for a guy who's the 8th best quarterback. And nothing against Dak, but that's just a lot of money when there's not separation at the quarterback position.
Right. Well, and I spent 11 in the draft for Dak and
got 10 back.
Right.
Yeah, that's not bad.
So I was okay with that. So, and with that bumps me up to 221. Then I'm going to jump into my next trade real quick.
Sure.
Just because this will bump me to 223. I traded AJ Dillon to Paul for Singletary and $2 draft dollars, and then 2 more if Dillon is kept, because Dillon was only a $10 purchase during the draft. If something happens to Jones, if Dillon becomes a workhorse some way or another, 10 draft dollars is solid for Dillon. I wanted to be able to recoup something back for that as well. But that puts me at 223 with technically 2 draft dollar contingency. So I'm only allowed to get 5 more this year.
You guys pushing that contingency back a year?
Paul is willing to, if I can cap the 7 here, he's willing to move to 23. So those 2 draft dollars are flexible at this point, which helps me a little bit.
Sure.
But put me at 223, and I'm trying to sell Swift. I'm trying to sell Gibson, Hill, but not a lot of people are trying to tap into 23 draft dollars, 2023 draft dollars, which makes it hard for me to sell either of them for $7 and just walk away.
7 in a keeper spot is 17, depending on the year.
Right.
So you can go that route, and there's keeper players too. I don't think Chris needs a guy, but like if you were going to try to flip somebody for Dobbins and a couple of bucks, like you could do that. So there's ways of doing it, even though nobody wants to dip into 2023 money.
Right. But that's why I asked Paul to see if I could move those 2 to 23 in case he keeps them. Allows me that option to go to 7 instead of 5, which helps me a little bit. So
yeah.
But anyway, the Dillon for Singletary with a couple draft dollars. He handcuffed his guy. I got Singletary to handcuff Moss, I guess. And with Moss in the concussion protocol, maybe that helps. Plus, I was planning on moving a guy, so I need a running back to play. And in case I do. So, but I thought that was fair value. Paul and I had talked about this for a couple weeks, and I finally was like, yeah, that's fine. Take Dillon. I'm ready to move on. So,
yeah, handcuffs have gone a little higher than that, but at this point, people are buying actual players and not handcuffs. So getting a couple bucks out of AJ Dillon works for you and was smart for Paul because AJ Dillon's one of the higher end handcuffs in the league. So good to have when he's the Aaron Jones owner.
Yep. And nobody else was bidding that price up because nobody else wanted AJ Dillon unless they had Aaron Jones. So
right.
It was Paul. So, all right, well, let's jump into some of Andy's trades. He's got 3 of them as well. I guess 3 outside of the CD one that we had.
Yeah. So let me talk through this first one because, I mean, everyone watching knows, but I lost to Colin this week. It came down to the Monday night matchup. Going in Monday morning, Colin had Najee left, and I had Khalil Herbert, and I was down like 2.5 points or something. And Montgomery's getting activated. I'm like, okay, like unless Najee gets hit by a bus on the way to the game, I'm not winning. Like there's just no way. Even then, I didn't know Herbert was going to get 2.5 points with Monty being back. So I was like, I got to make a move. So the first thing I did was I reached out to Friar. I was like, let me get Monty. I'll give you Terry McLaurin and $5 maybe. I don't remember what I offered, but Terry McLaurin and money for Montgomery coming back. And he said, no, I'd rather you lose than Colin lose. Go away. I was like, I respect that. And then I offered Colin I believe I offered Colin Chubb and Kelsey to effectively throw the matchup by giving me Najee. And he said no, which is fair, but I had to try. And I feel like I looked somewhere else too. I scrambled high and low, and Friar reached out and was like, what about Claypool? And I was like, I think Claypool gives me a better chance than Khalil Herbert with Monty being back. Because going into the Bears are on bye this week, and they activated Montgomery off of the IR. It's like, okay, well, if there was any lingering anything with him, they would have just sat him through the bye week. Teams do that often anyways, just to make sure that they're fully healthy. Like if they're activating him for this game, he's good to go. It's not like they haven't had a running game without him. Like they're activating him to play him. Khalil Herbert is a dud at this point. I can't roll with this if I can get another option. So Friar's initial proposal was Terry for Claypool, or Terry and Khalil Herbert for Claypool, and if Claypool outscored Najee, then I would owe him $5. And I was like, listen, I know you have me bent over right here because I need this, but Terry's better than Claypool. Everybody knows that. And I'm giving you a handcuff who's proven to be good. And you want a $5 contingency that still leaves a window where I could lose this matchup. Like, no, I can't do it. I just can't do it. And sat on it for like an hour and was talking to a couple of people, and I was like, I have to do this. Like, I already invested $14 in Lamb to try to win this week. If I lose, I go home. Like, it's not like I'm giving up my whole roster and not able to sell anything if I lose. So I sent Fry back. I was like, $5 feels like a lot when I'm already giving you the better players and helping your team out, and you're one of the teams that I'm looking at trying to pass if I win. I was like, I need this to be contingent on me winning because I'm not shelling out money to still lose this matchup. And I'll give you $3. And he's like, fine. And then Claypool got hurt. Najee got a touchdown. I mean, the Bears did a pretty good job containing Najee. He just got the touchdown, and Claypool only got a couple of catches, and that's all she wrote. But
that game was just ugly. So.
Oh, it was so bad. I mean, there's so many ways that it was bad, but yeah, I acknowledge again in this trade, the same as the Lamb trade, that I overpaid. I overpaid on purpose. Friar knew that he had me backed into a corner, and I was not going to give up easily. It didn't work out, but can't say I didn't try.
And now you're hanging out with me trying to sell. All right.
Kinda.
How did that make you feel?
Selling?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand the practice of selling. I executed it very well, I think, so far, but I hate it. And like, I don't want to sell Chubb and Lamb. I want to hold on to them and try to win consolation and keep my points up and my wins up and everything and see what happens. But at the same point, it's like, well, I don't have all that much to play for. and I could be making myself a lot better for next year. So trying to balance 10 years worth of pride versus trying to be good next year.
I don't have 10 years worth of pride. I have 10 years worth of bottom dwelling. So I'll sell all I want, man.
That's fair.
I got you guys just where I want you. Biggest comeback ever. Maybe.
Kim Kardashian?
Don't compare me to her yet.
She had come on her back.
Yeah, at least. All right. Anyway, let's jump into your next two trades that you were working on selling off. You got rid of both of your tight ends.
I did.
I thought
yeah.
this was where you were going to go with Kim Kardashian, but anyway, you went a different direction.
Yeah, I sold. So I was effectively selling Kelsey Monday night while the game was going on, just so that I could have that done and over with. Because I mean, we talk about it on the podcast. Apparently, it's finally catching on after 5 years that people appreciate that Travis Kelsey is an advantage over everybody else in the way that Dak can only make you so much better than or as good as everybody else at quarterback. Kelsey makes you better than everybody else at tight end. And so Chris and Charlie were in on the bidding. I was hoping to get 12 to 15 for him. They both kept going. I wasn't going to stop them. So Chris backed out at 17. Charlie offered me 18, and that's all she wrote. And I think it's worth it. Like, I had Kelsey last year. I won the championship last year, and Kelsey was a big part of that. And looking at Charlie's team and what he had before, which was Conklin, maybe, and he was hoping for Knox to come back and be good, which Knox had been very good, so I won't take that away from him. But he's not Kelsey.
And he's also not proven. He had 2 or 3 good weeks in a row or something like that. But the Bills' offense is so powerful all the way around, and they can spread that ball out. It's not a consistency thing.
Yeah, and like I think I probably made Charlie's team 50 points better, and it cost him $18. Like, that's, and you look at Chris paying $10 for Dak to make sure that he didn't have to stream a quarterback if Hurts gets benched. Charlie's getting a better deal there. Like, that's worth the money.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do you think he overpaid? Or are you just surprised that he went that high? But you agree with me that that's probably where his value should be?
For with how this year is gone, I was surprised that you got up to 18.
That's fair.
This year's Kansas City, I expected you to probably get 10 to 13. I don't know that I would have even expected you to get to 15. Just because and he's still Kelsey. Tyreek Hill is still Tyreek Hill. Patrick Mahomes is still a good quarterback. They just, for whatever reason, they just can't put it together this year. And at some point it might turn around and it might become a huge impact player. But if he continues at the rate he's at, he's still the tight end 1. So I mean, he's still good.
Right.
But is he really outside of the top 3 or 4 there? Is he going to be a league winner if he stays where he's at on pace? Maybe, maybe not.
So I'm going to rattle off the tight end numbers because I think you may or may not be surprised. But number 1 is Travis Kelsey. Number 2 is Mark Andrews. In a per game pace, Kelsey's a shade over 10 points a game right now, and Andrews is a hair under. So they're pretty neck and neck. But looking at the tight end 3 in total points right now, Gesicki. Yeah. I told you to pick him up.
I had already had him on waivers, so don't start with me.
I mean, I did tell you to pick him up. The
also,
podcast.
You told me not to pick up Friar, and he has done fairly well since.
You don't need him. You have Gesicki.
I know, but anyway, keep going.
So the gap between Travis Kelsey and Mike Gesicki, who's tight end 3 right now, is 24 points. Over 9 weeks is almost 3 points a week, and that's between Kelsey and the two down from him. Number 4 tight end is Hunter Henry. Number 5 tight end is CJ Uzoma.
And he's only had a couple big games, but they were big games, which
Right.
helped.
So when you're looking at a top 5 that includes Hunter Henry and CJ Uzoma, like Darren Waller has had some issues. He's had some injuries. So I'm looking at total points. So he would be a little bit higher if he hadn't missed those games. Or if I was looking at a per game basis, Waller would be a little higher. But Waller's been down too. Kittle came back and looked pretty good this week. Pitts is on the upswing, but Walker's not going to sell him because he's a keeper.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you are a playoff team and you are looking to get a leg up on your opponents, this is it.
So also, go ahead and talk about your Hawk trade.
Oh, that one I lucked out on. I was hoping to get like maybe $5 for Hawk, but I also knew that Chris is my only buyer because everybody else pretty much got their tight end figured out. But at the same time, Chris is a playoff hopeful with a very good team and didn't have his tight end quite figured out. And while Chris and I were talking about Kelsey, you know, he was saying that like he echoed some of my thoughts about the advantage that Kelsey brings and the value of the tight end position. So I think that he has a similar mindset to me on what the value of that is and appreciates the volume that Hawkinson gets and the potential upside in the back half of the season. So he was willing to go in on it. I was only expecting $5. He offered me 7. I told him make it 8 since I'm playing against him this week, and that really hurts to flip a guy to my opponent in this week. He said sure, so I'm happy with it. I didn't expect to get that much, but hope it works out for him.
Where's Hawkinson on your list over there of total points for the year?
Hawk is 10th.
Okay.
And if you look in weeks 3, 4, and 5, he had a total of 8 catches. In the other 5 weeks, he had 8, 8, 8, 6, and 10. So he's averaged 8 catches in the other 5 weeks. The last 3 weeks, he's had an average of 8 catches and over 10 targets. It's just the touchdowns haven't been there, which they may not be because it's fucking Lions, but not my problem anymore.
Well, and so leading off of that, we just talked about how Gesicki's the number 3 overall tight end right now.
Mm-hmm.
He came and offered me, and Gesicki's $1 if he wants to be. If I want to keep Gesicki, it's $1. So even if it's a dart throw next year, if he moves teams, if something happens, it's $1, and that's a possible keeper. And he came at me with 2 draft dollars and Dalton Schultz, and you got 8 and Dalton Schultz for Hawkinson. So it just kind of blew my mind that happened. So I don't know.
So I think I would like to assume that Chris thinks in a similar way that I do.
Volume is king.
Well, yeah, and Gesicki's had 3 and 4 catches the last couple of weeks. He's only got 2 touchdowns, so you can't really say that he gets away from Hawkinson in that way. He's got 2 games at or above 8 catches, and Hawk has, what did I say, 6? So maybe it was 5. I don't know. There's a volume difference.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree, but even then, Gesicki started super slow.
Yeah.
And he's done well this middle part of the season already. And
especially with the potential keeper value there, I don't think that it was a $6 value difference. I agree with you.
Right. So, but anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. It just surprised me that he came to me with 2 and Schultz, and you got 8 and Schultz out of it. So
fair.
Anyway, all right, that's all the trades. We've exhausted that. Let's move on. So I'm going to run through the sellers real quick and what their draft dollar situation looks like and who I believe could be sold if a buying team was looking at it. So you've got I've got 223, so I don't have a lot left this year. Like we've talked about, I got Hill, Swift, Gibson, Barkley, Gesicki could be there, but Chris just bought a tight end, so I don't think anybody else is looking at that. Andy's team is at 214. He's got CD and Chubb, which are really probably the only ones that are going to be considered at this point, but who knows? There could be more. Boyer threw out CEH. He's at 209, so he's got plenty of draft capital to work with. Walker has got Amari Cooper and playoff Lenny. So Fournette's been consistent. I don't know if
Walker
Walker's
might
looking-
want to hold on to him to keep him
Right.
because he's
Well, I
only
think-
like $9 or something like that.
Right. Well, and that was going to be the other thing is I don't know if Walker's even looking to move him. I did not clear this one with him. But Leonard Fournette's been a consistent running back. So if a buying team needed it, that would at least be a conversation that could be had.
Sure.
The duo has Robert Woods and Chris Carson. I mean, I don't really have anybody that the duos should be really looking to sell here.
Yeah. So looking at Chris Carson, I felt like they overpaid for him in the draft, and then he's been hurt. So I feel pretty comfortable saying there's no keeper value there.
Right.
If somebody wanted to take a shot on him for whatever it would cost to get him off the duo at this point, I don't know what they'd be looking for, but I have to imagine that they'd accept less than you would for Swift or I would for Chubb. Carson's got a pretty light schedule in the back half. He's got the Lions in the championship week, which is the second worst against the run. They've got the Texans. They've got Washington, San Francisco, and Chicago in there, which are all pretty neutral. So like no bad matchups except for this week against the Cardinals. So
And he may or may not even play this week, but you're
Yeah.
looking long term if you're looking at Carson.
right. So if you're a person who puts a lot of stock into what the schedule looks like and what they're going up against, I mean, it worked out last year with Montgomery. It's not something that I stress too much about, but if that's something that you're interested in, Chris Carson might be your guy.
Yeah, he could, like you said, cheaper end guy that you could take a shot on. Hope he comes back. Granted, this whole injury could linger all year, and he could not play the rest of the year. So
Yeah. On the flip
Yeah.
side, if Carson and Wilson both come back and that offense gets rolling, that could be great for everybody. So we'll have to see. There's a lot of
Like-
question marks.
So all right, so those are the 5 teams that I've got possibility of selling. Duos at 212, so they got plenty of draft capital to play with this year as well. If you wanted to throw an offer out at them, and then Robert Woods, you think he's I mean, at least a decent buy to have if somebody was looking for a deeper wide receiver.
Yeah. The problem is, and we're about to get to it, outside of maybe Robbie, and Robbie's got Thielen and now Mooney doing fine enough as his wide receivers that I don't know that he'd be excited to spend money on Woods, but
Right.
but a lot of these playoff teams are pretty set.
Yeah.
And if they're looking at what Paul's been doing and looking at Chris and Collins' team and all of that, like I don't know that any of these other playoff hopefuls are going to be like, who's going to put me over the top? Bobby Trees. Like, let's
Right.
go spend some money on Bobby Trees. So I don't disagree. I think Robert Woods is a fine player. If CD was going to miss the game, I was going to talk to the duo about picking up Woods for this week to plug that hole. But,
Yeah, no, I get it. So, all right, well, let's jump into the buyer needs real quick. And like you said, a lot of these playoff teams are starting to solidify where they're at. So I had Robbie he could use a wide receiver too. He has Mooney and Visca, which is not pretty. And honestly, I'm not even high on Thielen either.
no, I like looking, and Robbie's had injury issues. Obviously, he had Derrick Henry go down. He had Russell Wilson go down. But Robbie's the best team in the league record-wise. So you got to figure he's expecting to go into playoffs. And knowing what some of these other teams look like, Robbie's starting lineup this week is Thielen, Chenault, Harris, Jacobs, Higbee, Gaskin. Okay, like if Henry comes back for playoffs, then maybe he can compete. But you compare that to Chris having AJ Brown and Devontae Adams and Jamar Chase and Alvin Kamara and James Robinson and TJ Hawkinson. Chris is better than Robbie at every single position unless Derrick Henry comes back.
Right.
So Robbie's got to do something if he wants to be able to make a push in playoffs. And that's not to say anything about the fact that Friar could catch him.
Yeah. And so Robbie could use at least a wide receiver because he's got Thielen. You can roll with Thielen as a wide receiver too if you go buy somebody else, or Thielen as one. As long as you got a solid two, you'd be fine.
Right.
He also could use a running back too. He's also got 3 of 4 of his running backs are going to be on bye week 14, which if something comes up where it's a fight for playoffs come week 14, that's not going to be a good look for you.
Yep.
So that might be something you look at. He's at 100. He's at 197 still. So he's got some money to move. But
and week 14 is the week that he plays Friar. So if Friar has caught him by that point, then you want to be set up for that. Not that Robbie watches the podcast, but hey, Robbie, you're going to have an issue that week. You might want to address it.
Yeah. And me and Andy are both selling. So, we'll work on that.
I don't even care if you talk to me. I just wanted to watch people manage their teams well.
Right. So let's move to Friar. He's got 192 draft dollars, and he's pretty much set with his lineup. So I don't see Friar doing any buying here. Most of his bye weeks are past. He can pretty much fill in throughout the rest of the season. So he's good to go. Colin, I also see is pretty much set. He's got a few late buys.
For Friar, he might want to add a flex. Looking short term, he's definitely fine, especially while Edmonds is out and Connor's been doing really well. But going into playoffs, if James, he's going to have Dalvin Cook, David Montgomery, and then I imagine James Conner would be his flex in those matchups. There's definitely room to upgrade there. And looking at some of these stacked ass teams that are going into playoffs, Friar's team's definitely good enough to win. But you want to give yourself the best chance if you're going for a title. It would theoretically be Friar's second trip to the playoffs ever, and his first one didn't go very well. And not to mention, he's got to gain some ground on Robbie, which Robbie's team we just ran down doesn't look like a 7-2 team right now, but he's still 2 games up on Friar, and I believe he's got the advantage with the division record. So Friar's got to keep pushing, and his team is very good. I think his schedule's decent going forward, so maybe he doesn't need to make a move, but it certainly couldn't hurt.
Yeah. I mean, I reached out to him. He said he's set, so I don't see him doing anything, but maybe he'll change his mind after listening to us. But I like James Conner. I mean, he's been consistent, but the dude's putting up a touchdown every week, and that's at some point is going to regress, I would imagine.
Yeah, and I think James Conner is going to be great for the next month while Edmonds is out. Obviously, he looked great this week, but that's even if Friar's able to ride that to a playoff appearance, once he goes up against teams like Charlie and Chris and Paul and Colin, whoever of that group makes it, or Jeremy, if Jeremy adds a guy, that's going to be tough.
Why did you say 3 guys out of my division? That makes me, not happy about divisions right now.
Oh, your division's pretty strong.
Yeah.
Not you, the rest of them.
I still got a good team. I'm trying to sell them.
What's your record?
Listen, don't start with me. All right.
How much does it suck that you and I are tied with Boyer and the duo and Walker?
I know. It's embarrassing. I had high hopes for this year. So Colin is pretty set as well. He's got a couple late buys, but he should be all right. He's at 196 left. So if he decided to make a move, something happens this weekend, he would be willing. He'd have some money to move if need be. Chris covered his tight end situation, so he's good there. I did put in he could use a wide receiver for week 13. So he's got a couple guys on bye. Would be my guess. You want to run down Chris's wide receivers for me real quick?
Yeah, so Adams and Brown are both on bye in week 13. He would have Chase, and the only other receiver on his roster right now is Kadarius Toney, which is pretty good. So I think he could get by. I'm looking at who his matchup is in week 13. Week 13 he plays Paul, so that's a big one. I don't know, and maybe that's a Robert Woods situation. Are they on a bye that week? Probably not. Week 11. So maybe that's a Robert Woods situation where you throw a couple bucks at a guy just so you make sure you got yourself covered and get that extra depth piece. I mean, he doesn't need a Tyreek Hill to do it. He just, and I don't think Chris wants to shell out more money at this point, but you want to win that matchup against Paul, either to make sure that you get into the playoffs, or the way it's going right now, maybe to keep Paul out of playoffs, which wouldn't be bad for Chris either. So something to think at. Always be looking forward, fellas.
I knew he didn't play me that week, so I knew he needed to cover something there. But so maybe a back end wide receiver there, unless you really like Toney, or you just find somebody on waivers that's working at that point. But playing Paul, that's a tougher ask. So.
Yep. And then on the flip side, Paul doesn't really need much, but he could use a running back for week 13. So
yeah. His running backs are out week 13. Chris's wide receivers are out week 13. So who fills that role? Who's going to cover that?
Who gets the better guy? See, so what's going to happen is Chris is going to get Woods, and then Paul's going to go get like Gibson, and then Chris is going to have to go get like Tyreek, and then Paul's going to be like, okay, well, I should get Saquon or Chubb or somebody. It's just they're going to be ridiculous. Mostly Paul. Paul will be ridiculous.
Paul's got some money left to spend still too, even after.
It's because he had like 215 or something for next year, and he's been blowing through trying to. I find it funny in a sad way that he is doing everything he can to make his team as stacked as possible, and he still can't catch a fucking break.
Yeah, I don't think any of us expected him to be in third place in our division at this point.
5-4, 2 games behind Robbie. Nope, I did not expect that to be the case.
So Paul could use a running back for week 13 or 2, but he doesn't have a lot of roster space left, holding four bye week guys that week.
Yeah.
So then I put Charlie in there as an extra wide receiver, maybe a running back. I know he's reaching out to me about a running back, so he's pretty set, but I think he does want to up his team in some form or fashion, just to make sure he can compete like we've talked about with some of these other teams.
Yeah, so Godwin's got a little bit of a foot issue. He didn't practice today. But really, Charlie's team, if you're fine with relying on Elijah Mitchell, doesn't need much, but Elijah Mitchell could, I mean, that could change on a whim. Who knows? Niners running backs, he could just be hurt for the rest of the season for no reason. But that's definitely a spot that he could upgrade if he wanted to add. I mean, that's his flex. So a running back or a receiver, there's a lot of options for how he wants to handle that. He's got Devonta Smith on his bench, so I don't think he needs to make a move. But like we keep saying, all these teams are stacked, so he definitely could make his team better still.
Right. Jeremy, he was talking about getting a wide receiver. He's been talking about getting a running back. He's been kind of back and forth, but it seems like he's adamant on trying to pull a running back at this point. So we'll kind of see where he goes, but he knows that he needs to buy somebody, so he'll get there. I'm not sure what he's going to do yet.
Yeah, if Jeremy wants to keep up with Charlie or make a push for wild card or both, whatever that ends up looking like in a few weeks, Kyler Murray is great if he's healthy, which has been a concern. Mark Andrews is the tight end too, so you're getting your advantage there when your guys are playing. DJ Moore is fine enough, but I don't think he stacks up with some of these other wide receiver twos on these playoff teams.
Especially with that quarterback situation right now. That's a mess.
And then Jeremy's RB2 is Devonta Freeman. Oh no, Joe Mixon. So I'm just looking at this week's matchup. So Joe Mixon's fine, but then at the flex you got Lockett, which again, DJ Moore and Tyler Lockett are fine wide receiver too and flex for starting the season. But now that the shit has settled and the cream has risen to the top, Jeremy seems to just be kind of floating in this middle area still. He's got to make a move.
Yeah. And if he likes Lockett, if he likes Moore, that's fine. He can play one of them in the wide receiver 2 spot there and find a replacement for that flex, or make those two his flex and find a replacement for his starters. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see, but he'll make a move before the deadline. He likes to make moves.
The important thing is Jeremy has spent money on the Tampa Bay and the Patriots defense, so he has that locked down. Good work, Jay.
He's got the defensive advantage. That's a thing, right?
It's a thing.
All right, cool. All right, let's jump into a little pow. What you drinking? What are you working on over there, Andy?
Water.
Water sucks. Oh. Well, I'm drinking Sweetwater, a little hazy IPA. So
I see what you did there. I like Sweetwater. Their stuff's good.
Good brewery. So, and then Boyer's drinking Gatorade, trying to get through his death sentence here. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, you want to roll into matchups?
Yeah, we'll just jump through quick matchups. We'll just hit the winners, and we'll go from there.
All right. Tie versus duo. I got tie.
No, I'm taking tie too, especially with my roster right now. If I sell a guy or two, which who knows, then maybe it changes, but I don't think there's enough movement for me right now. So I'm taking me for this week.
Boyer also chose you. So good work there.
I got to make up ground here. I got to start picking other people.
Yeah, you beating the duo would be. See, that's my problem is I can't win a game. I can't buy a win. I tried really hard last week and couldn't do it. So I need to just have more points than somebody else that keeps losing. So I'm looking at Boyer and you and the duo to all just like keep losing. But you play the duo this week, so one of you is going to win, which sucks.
Well, the other one has to lose though, which is good.
Fair. But looking at these other teams in this league, I don't think that you guys are stacking up with the big boys right now.
Good thing I got Boyer next week too, or in a couple weeks. So one of us.
All right. Well, then I need you to win both. Because if you all just trade this shit and everybody gets one, that fucks me hard. Sorry, you two.
I hear you like it that way. So anyway, let's jump to Jeremy versus Colin. So this one's going to be a little bit tougher than the mine versus duos matchup.
Yeah, this is the fun one. I think I'm picking Colin. I hate everything that Cordero Patterson is. I refuse to understand what's happening. Since week 1, his floor has been 10.2 points in a non-PPR league. Just what is that? I hate it. Every time I see Colin's lineup, I'm like, what is he doing playing Cordero Patterson? He's kicking our ass is what he's doing because I hate it. But Jeremy needs to add a guy. If Jeremy adds a guy, then it'll be a closer matchup, but Colin's got the better team right now.
Yep. I would 100% agree with you. You remember that time that we made fun of Colin on the podcast multiple times because he spent so much fab on Patterson?
Yeah. Dumbass.
Stupid.
Cordero Patterson's 30 years old. on one of the worst teams in the league. What is
Yep.
happening?
He was drafted by the Vikings, was on the Bears. The dude's just bounced around a little bit, couldn't get off special teams, and now the dude's one of the best players in the league. I don't know.
I don't either. Well, that was fun.
So.
Sorry, Jay.
All right. Boyer's Kyle. No, Boyer has Jeremy, doesn't he?
Boyer did pick Jeremy.
He tried to pick Jeremy twice.
He did try to pick Jeremy twice. All right. Boyer has Jeremy.
All right.
Also, fun note, that is the first time since week 6 that you and Boyer have made a different pick in a matchup.
Really?
Yep. 7, 8, and 9, you guys all picked the exact same.
It doesn't surprise me. I mean,
I only had like
been,
2 different ones. Matchups have been pretty straightforward lately.
Right. Especially with how the teams are starting to stack up a little bit here.
Yeah.
So
we should get some fun, ugly matchups and some fun, good, studly matchups going forward. At least
once we hit division, it'll be real fun with the top end of my division.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we got Chris versus you. I'm taking Chris.
I think that's wise.
Okay.
I'd like to think that I have a shot this week, but I don't. Chubb's got COVID. Claypool's hurt. My team's getting worse by the day because I'm selling. So
and
I'm
Kareem
gonna
Hunt's
go.
Not gonna be back. Kareem Hunt's not gonna be back for another month. You do have Dearness Johnson. Way to handcuff your handcuff.
Hey, I had to pay for that one.
So all right. Boyer also took Chris.
Yeah.
All right, good. We're back on the same page again.
Can't get no respect.
All right, we got Friar versus Walker next.
Friar? Yep.
Okay. Walker's gonna pull off another win just out of nowhere just to piss us off.
Hey, he doesn't play me anymore, so probably not. Boyer also took Friar.
And then we're all taking. All right, so the next one, Boyer versus Paul.
Paul.
And
Yep.
Boyer also took Paul.
Boyer doesn't want to win that one.
So this next one is another interesting matchup, at least. We got Charlie versus Robbie. We did kind of talk about how shitty Robbie's team is, but at the same time, he's winning games. So I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah. And like, that. Like, Robbie's got Mooney on a bye. He's got Burrow on a bye. Wilson's maybe coming back. If he doesn't, Robbie's going to have to pick up a quarterback, which is going to make this even worse for him. But I mean, you compare quarterback Lamar Jackson to Russell Wilson coming back off an injury. That's easy for Charlie.
I'd take Jackson over Wilson straight
healthy.
Up most of the year anyway.
Yeah. Godwin versus LaVisca at wide receiver 2. And then you look at Eckler and Henderson versus Damian Harris and Josh Jacobs. That goes to Charlie. Travis Kelsey's twice as good as Tyler Higbee. And I mean, Robbie's got the Buffalo kicker and the Buffalo defense, which might be a slight advantage. But
well, and Robbie's got Harris that may not play. He's concussed right now. I don't know what that back and most concussions they come back the next week. Some of them don't, but I'd imagine he's back. But even then, if Stevenson's back, they're starting to work him in more. So
yeah,
I don't know. Right. I'm taking Charlie.
Yep, Charlie. Boyer picked Charlie too.
I was trying to find a way to talk myself into Robbie just to make it more of a fun matchup, but I couldn't do it.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, at this point, do you want to give me a quick champion prediction and a quick naked prediction, since we're kind of working on where the buyers are and where the sellers are?
Yep. If I was gonna pick a champion today, I would pick Charlie. And the reason for that is twofold. One, in my opinion, Charlie currently has the easiest path to playoffs because only 2 out of the 3 guys in your division can make it. And all 3 of those teams are stacked as hell, but somebody's going to miss. So even if I think it's Paul or Chris or Colin, which I love all of their teams, one of them's not even going to make the playoffs. And unless Jeremy makes a big move here, I think Charlie's got a pretty easy path. Robbie's team's on the downhill. Friar's team's better than his. So one of them's going to make playoffs. I don't think either of them has it easy right now, but I don't think either of them are as good as those other 4 teams. So I'm picking Charlie, 1, because he's going to make the playoffs. I feel the most confident in him out of anybody. But 2, because he has Travis Kelsey. Nobody can take that away from him.
Damn it. Because I really wanted to pick Charlie, and now I don't feel like I can. I was hoping to be different than you.
I love Chris's team too. I think
Yeah.
Chris's team is good. His receivers are phenomenal. As long as Jamar Chase doesn't fall off a complete cliff, which I think teams will adjust, but I think that the Bengals offense is good enough to keep getting him looks regardless. I'm not worried about that, but that could hurt him a little bit. But I think Chris's team's also very, very good.
Yeah.
So
no,
are Colin and Paul.
It's and with my thought was Colin or Charlie bought Kelsey. Kelsey's got to pick it up at some point. I know he's still in the market to buy. So with him trying to even make another move to make his team even better, I just think Charlie might have, if he makes another big move, I think he could be the front runner.
Yeah.
But other than that, I was kind of in the same boat as you. As I don't know who the hell to pick out of my division to even make it at this point. So
yeah, I cannot wait until division matchups. I am going to be watching your matchups like just eating popcorn, man. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, maybe I can upset one of them just to make it more interesting. Probably not, but I need to win these next couple of matchups before divisions happen. Otherwise, I'll be in trouble.
Fair.
So who do you got for naked at this point? Just looking at rosters. I know we've been saying Walker all year, but is it going to be Walker still?
This is tough because the duos team is bad. It's bad, but Carson's coming back. Logan Thomas could be coming back. I don't think you want Miles Sanders to come back at this point, but like in terms of, getting better, they look like they're going to get better. I don't think it's going to be you, Ty, but at the same time, you have to play the 3 crazy guys that are all trying to make playoffs, which is tough. Whereas I get to play Boyer and Duo gets to play Walker. Right. So it's going to come down to those matchups, probably. I still play Duo too, so a lot could happen. I
get Duo and Boyer. You still get Duo. Duo plays Walker. Boyer and you play.
Boyer plays Paul, you, Jeremy, and then the division, which our division is light compared to the other 2, I would think. But in terms of the 3 non-division games, Paul, you, and Jeremy is rough for him compared to Duo and I get to play each other, and Walker gets Friar, Robbie, Paul, and then his division.
That isn't that bad. I mean, it's not great, but it we just talked about Robbie's team not being great. I mean,
that's true. I don't know.
Friar has had down weeks. It's not like Friar's going to beat him guaranteed.
That's absolutely true. If I were going to pick a team today, I would pick Walker. But it's very hard to pick this right now because there's a lot up in the air. I would like to think that you and I are pretty safe because just looking at projections for this week, I'm sitting at 104, you're sitting at 94, and then these other teams are sitting, Boyer and the Duo are both in the 70s for their projections. Walker's at 89, which is respectable, but I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I hope it stays close and fun, and somebody doesn't just fall off while the rest of us each win a game or two. I hope it's down to the wire, just so we all. For as much as this league went like this year, I really want it to be just a dogfight at both at the end of the year.
I would like to not be in the dogfight for it.
Oh,
but
I agree with that. If it could just be you, me, and Jeremy hanging out in the middle, not being great or bad, that'd be fun. But
Boyer, Duo, Walker could all fight for the bottom. The other 4 or 5 can fight for the top, and the 3 of us will hang out in the middle.
yeah, I think that's fair.
I'm gonna stick with I'm with you. I'm gonna stick with Walker. He's been our pick all year. I think that I think my second choice would be Boyer. I think that, like you said, the duo is getting better. So I think it's between Boyer and Walker at this point. So
Boyer got his picks in. Boyer's got Colin as the champ and Duo naked.
So all right. Well, at least we all kind of agreed that Walker, Boyer, and the duo can be at the bottom.
Oh, while we're talking about naked, so of the, I'll throw you in there too. Of the 5 teams that are 3 and 5 right now, you've got me and the duo, and then you've got Boyer, Walker, Tyler have all been naked already. So do we have a secondary punishment?
Or do you guys just want to see all this man again? Because
I am sad that I don't have hard copies. Is where I'm at with that. I know it's been talked about having some sort of secondary punishment. I know people have thrown out the IHOP, Waffle House, Denny's, whatever, eat your pancakes and waffles and throw up afterwards and be there for 24 hours. We've had plenty of good ideas thrown out, but never anything really solidified. But I want to put this one on Jeremy. We got to get something figured out, preferably soon, while it's all still very up in the air. Like once it's down to like me and Walker, and we're trying to figure out what's happening, like votes are going to go differently when it's like, oh, like let's stick it to whoever, like whatever it gets down to. Like right now it's so up in the air that it's still worth talking about, and
Right.
people can mostly be impartial. So
I'd love to see somebody stand on a corner cross-dressed with a "I suck at fantasy football" sign. I'd like a nice video of somebody dancing on the corner, but we'll see.
while I have no intentions of being naked this or any other year, I am excited to do naked pictures if it ever comes to that. I will definitely be doing that, even if that challenge is gone.
Andy will do both challenges just because he wants to take the pictures.
No, I'll just do the naked pictures. I'm not eating fucking waffles.
I'll eat waffles all day, baby.
I'll show Dong on the second time I'm naked to not have to eat waffles. Don't put me in a Waffle House for 24 hours.
All right. On that note, that's all we got for you. So, duo, you guys suck this week. I'm gonna beat you guys. I can actually say that this week with like confidence, right? Because most weeks I'm like, you guys suck and I'm gonna win. But duo, you guys actually suck, and I'm actually gonna win a week, and I'm gonna move a step towards not being naked.
Good luck. I'm still hoping to compete with Chris this week, so wish me luck there.
Other than that, the rest of you, good luck, win, lose, tie, whatever. Enjoy your fantasy week, and we'll come back at you next week. See ya.